Hello, everyone, and welcome to AP US History for Winners with your teacher, Mr. Johnson. Last time we talked about Native American societies before European contact, and today we are talking about European exploration in the Americas, the Columbian Exchange, Spanish exploration, and conquest. So, if you are ready, let's begin. The first thing that we need to talk about is the reasons why Europeans want to explore in the Americas. And we're going to have sort of a simple way to break this down, a little acronym or a little way to remember it, the three G's. And these are the reasons why Europe wants to explore in the Americas. So I would star these three G's. We'll definitely need to know these. College Board really cares about the rationale or the motivation for the Europeans doing this. First G stands for gold. More money, more wealth means more power. And the Americas represent new ways to gain that wealth. And we're not just talking about gold, to be clear. There's gold. There's also silver. There's also tons of different resources, just like the food that's being grown or tobacco that's being grown and shipped back. It's basically just the idea that the Americas represent all this newfound money. And there's this term called mercantilism, which we'll talk about more specifically later, but I'm just mentioning it to you now because Europe has this idea called mercantilism that means that there's only a fixed amount of money in the world. And that's what they think at the time. And so they think that if they start exploring and taking over new places, they're going to find this new money and they're going to bring it back. And they're competing against the other nations in Europe at the time to make that new money because they think there's only so much of it out there. They got to find it, they got to take it from these places and bring it back to Europe. So gold is the main first motivation for exploration. Second is God. Now, Europe is predominantly Christian and Catholic at the time, and they are going to use the exploration as a way to spread their religion, Christianity or Catholicism, depending on which nation we're talking about. And at times, they're also going to use this as an excuse for exploiting Native Americans who are not Christian, obviously, at the time. So they're going to use this for a reason to exploit these peoples. The third main reason here is glory, the third G, glory. There's a newfound focus on individual achievement at the time. And the kings and queens of Europe, they want the fame that comes with colonizing the Americas. The people that are coming over, they're conquistadors, Cortez and Pizarro, right? These people, they want the fame that comes with being the first people to come over to Europe, to come over to the Americas and establish these colonies. So the three G's, gold, God, glory. These are the reasons why Europeans want to explore in the Americas. This slide is talking about a very important term, the Columbian Exchange, and I would star the entire term Columbian Exchange. Make sure you know what it means. And it's essentially the spread of new ideas, crops, diseases, and people between the old world, which would be Europe, Africa, Asia, and the New World, North, South America, Central America. Okay, so because these two major regions in the world hadn't been communicating in a major way up until this point in world history, this is a huge spread of all these ideas and all these things, and it's really going to dramatically change the way the entire world is structured. And there are some things that come from the Americas and go to Europe that hadn't been there before. And there's some things that come from Europe into the Americas that hadn't really been there before. And so we'll kind of break the most important things down. So from America to Europe, and this is again North and South America to Europe, we have some crops like tobacco, potatoes, and maize. Now, tobacco is this idea again of like gold, quote unquote, right? Where that's going to help Europe make a ton of money. But also potatoes and maize are these new crops that Europe are going to grow that's going to help them increase European population. Potatoes are incredibly easy to grow, they're nutritious, they're filling. I mean, everyone loves potatoes, right? And so when they get those from the Americas and people taste them for the first time and they see how easy they are to grow, it's really going to increase European population. But then there's also literal gold in the Americas that they find. There's gold, there's silver, right? There's these literal mineral wealth that they're going to bring back to Europe. And this is going to help move Europe from feudalism to capitalism to the idea of private businesses and really increasing the amount of wealth that's in Europe. Okay, so now from Europe to the Americas, what are the most important things that come from Europe to the Americas? Horses, guns, and diseases. Now, horses had not been in the Americas before, and this is really going to change how Native American societies get around and how they hunt and all of this. Guns had not been a thing that Native American societies had. This is going to change warfare for them. But the really important one, and star this one, is diseases. Okay. Diseases like smallpox and malaria are going to kill 75 to 90% of Native Americans because Native Americans did not have built up immunities to these like Europeans had. This is the first time Native American populations are facing smallpox or facing malaria. And as a result, so many, like I said, 75 to 90% of them die. And this is as a huge effect on Native American societies. Okay. And then the last concept is slavery. And this is the idea that basically because the Columbian Exchange is making some Europeans so wealthy, and because the demand for these New World crops goods gets so high in Europe, Europe is going to want to find a way to increase the amount of crops that they can grow. And they're going to start to bring slaves over to the New World. And we'll talk more about this in later lessons. But this is the beginning of that because of this greed, because of this desire for wealth. Okay. And this is a little bit of map, so a map that you can kind of see that outlines a little bit. I only went over a few of the things, but you can see all these new things that are brought in for the first time. We talked about some of these, but there's also other things that are coming over from the Americas to Europe. And then look at all this stuff that's coming from the old world to the new world, and look at all of these diseases, like I said, and the impact that those are having. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how the economies in Europe and the Americas are going to be changed because of this transactions, because of the Columbian Exchange. So colonization is going to lead to an improved European economy. And again, one of the reasons why Europe is able to colonize so quickly and efficiently is because of improvements in maritime technology, basically improvements in how they're able to sail. And so let's just make sure we understand it and memorize at least one of these new inventions I'm going to teach you about. One is called the sextant. That's what you see pictured here on the right. It's basically like a super old school GPS, and it enables people sailing to figure out where they are in the world. And then they have these new ships, caravels, which are faster ships with new sails that make it easier and quicker for Europeans to get to the Americas. And how this stuff impacts the economy, well, in Europe, it's going to change how the economy is organized. And there's going to be this new term, star this one as well, joint stock companies. And these are companies that are going to be used to raise money for exploration. So let's say you want to go explore in the Americas, you hear about all this money, you want to go make some money off of it. But you don't have enough money to get a ship, to get a crew, and to do all this stuff, to get all the things that you need to get over to the Americas. What are you going to do? Well, that's where a joint stock company comes in. Essentially, you pool money together with all these other people who also want to make money, and you build up enough money, enough capital to be able to do it. You hire your explorers, they go over to the Americas, they come back with what they found, what that they have, and you all share in the profits together. You might share in the losses together as well, but this basically enables people to take on bigger risks. And this is kind of a precursor to the present day stock market. And so that's why it's an important term to know, joint stock company. Okay. And then the last concept we'll talk about today is Spanish exploration and conquest. And Spain is really the first European country in a major way that's going to start to colonize the New World. And we need to learn about a couple of important people. There are Spanish conquistadors, Hernan Cortez and Francisco Pizarro. And so Hernan Cortez in 1590 conquers the Aztecs in present-day Mexico. And the Aztecs were a huge civilization in the Americas. Like we said, they had a large number of people. And so Cortez is able to basically take over the Aztec area and bring it for Spain. Okay. And then another individual we'll learn about, Pizarro. He conquers the Incas in present day Peru. And again, same thing, is able to bring back and make this a colony of Spain. And so, how are they able to do all of this? Well, diseases is one area, one way that we've talked about this. Okay, so smallpox, malaria, measles, the flu, all these diseases that we mentioned before, they kill about 75 to 90% of the Native American population, which makes it easier for Europeans to do this. But also, Europeans have advanced weapons like guns. They have horses that the Native Americans hadn't had before. So all these things come together to be why it's easier for Spain to explore and to take over these areas and to colonize parts of, at this point, Central and South America. Okay, so that is it for our notes today on European exploration in the Americas, the Columbian Exchange, Spanish exploration, and conquest. But let's go over these big ideas. Remember, these are the things that we need to be able to understand, and we need to be able to synthesize all what we just learned. So make sure you're able to answer these big ideas and actually write them down. So, number one, describe a reason that European nations wanted to explore and conquer the New World. Number two, describe the causes of the Columbian Exchange. And number three, describe the effects of the Columbian Exchange and give at least one specific example of an effect. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.